Hi and welcome back. Okay, so in this lecture, we will be seeing how we are, in this video, we will be progressing further on designing our Power BI report. So, the very first thing, like I mentioned beforehand, you should be clear in your mind as in terms of what KPIs or what visualizations you are trying to view or visualize in your report, right? So that's the major part. Now that once that thing is clear up, here is what we are gonna do. So let's go visual by visual. The very first visual is created pretty easily. It's a basic stacked area chart, but the only key thing here to understand is, as you can see here, this is a visual which can be drilled down, right? So we have years, then quarter, month, and day. And the best way to represent this and to view this is to expand down all to next level of hierarchy and then view this in this format. That way, it will be much more, that way it will cover up more area of your visualization and it will be easier to read the data as well as understand it, right? Now, the second visual which here we are trying to show here is where we are showing the sales by top 10 customers. Now, as you can see here, first of all, the visual which I am taking here is called a tornado map or a tornado chart. So what this tornado chart does here is, based on any specific dimension or dimensions, in terms we are of in terms of creating hierarchy, we can compare two specific data points, and primarily it is being used to compare the sales of this year versus last year or this quarter versus last quarter, and any kind of data which we wanted to compare. So what I have done here is I put the customer name in the group and I've put the sales and sales last year in the values. Now in the data you might not have or you will not have the sales last year. So here is what I have done to create a new measure. So right clicking on it and creating a new measure, and this is a syntax which I have written. Now the important thing to understand here is I have created and calculated the sum of total sales, where sales is only of same period last year. So same period last year, and I'm taking order date as my date, right? So that will be my sales last year. Now, before having the sales last year, what you need to work on is to have sales of this year as well, right? As I mentioned in my last video or last video, as of now in the base data or in the raw data, we do not really have a sales field available. All we have is quantity, ordered quantity, unit price, and unit cost. So you can pick up the sales, and from here, based on that, you can create your sales column. So based on this, I have created a very simple formula or a simple DEX calculated column by right clicking on it and creating new column, where what we are doing is we are just multiplying the order quantity with the unit cost, and that unit cost will provide us the total sales for that specific sales order or sales item. So once you have that, you can use it across your report and as well as do the sales of this year versus last year comparison quite easily, right? All right. So once that is in place, just pick up the sales and sales of last year in the values, put up the groups here, and as you can see here, it will show you the comparison of both by all the customers, right? Now that you have that, just make sure you format your visuals appropriately. So what I've done here is I've just made sure that I have done the right formatting in terms of data colors. So this is my sales color, this is my sales last year, right? And I've just put up the text as of white color only. It's much more easy to read the white font on top of those two color shades. And now that we have done that, now we have to just do a top end analysis, and that's pretty easy as well. Just open your filter pen, select your visual, and open the customer name section. Open this drop down and select top end. From here, I will click on top 10 and I'll drag this sales on the by value and apply the filter. That will give me my top 10 customers who are generating me the most sales. And just like that, my that specific tornado visual has been created. And the final visual, which or the bottom right visual, which is what we have taken, is basically an area map or an Azure map, sorry. And the last second visual which we have created here is an Azure map, and we have worked on this in our previous lectures as well. So we have taken a very basic. So here all we are doing here is just showing my total sales by all the states here, and very easily I can see their contribution of the sales by all the various states, just making sure that I have done appropriate color formatting, and that's the only change I have done or formatting I have done in this visual. I have just made sure that just to make these data points or bubbles much more readable, I've taken the map type as grayscale light, right? So that is there. Now the final visual, or I can say as the final KPI. Now the final object in this page were these KPI cards, and if you remember from our design template, we have created these kind of objects where we have thought of putting up these cards. What I have what I have done separately to bring much more elegance and much more information in my report is creating these kind of monthly trends, and that those are also pretty easy to create. Firstly, all you need to do is just simply put up the cards here. Just simply put up Firstly, all you need to do here is just simply put up the cards here. So we have the card visual available. So put up the cards of total sales, sales last year, and the quantity sold, right? So now that you have those available, what we are showing here is done by what we are showing here is from a specific custom visual called sparkline. So this basically shows very good spark lines, but as you can notice here, I have put these spark lines on top of another object. Now, key point, you can always create this blue object in your PowerPoint as well, but I have thought of creating this here in Power BI pretty easily. I've just taken a specific shape, given it a specific, dark bluish shade of color. So I've taken a parallelogram. I put up the slant as 33% to give them these diagonal or these slants. I've taken up or I've filled the color with this dark blue shade, and on top of them I have arranged my spark lines. Now these are really good looking visuals. As you can see here, all I've done here is once you've selected the spark line, on the axis I've taken the month only from the order date, and on the values I've taken a specific value of quantity, sales last year, and sales, right? And that's also pretty easy to do here. Once that is done, as you can see here, this gives us an added advantage of showing us the lowest and the highest value in your sparkline. So that will give me or help me understand what is my lowest sales point or my highest sales point altogether. So that's a pretty good way to show uh, the trend and the analysis. And you can also adjust the colors of your lowest and highest point if you want. You can always turn them on and off by going to the point section, but these are really informative in terms of doing the trend analysis. So I put up them specific colors and I'm showing it right here. So, and then I've just adjusted them in front of the specific KPIs so that we can show the specific trend of how the sales last year and quantities been selling. And once your report is much more dynamic, it gets pretty easy to see how dynamically the trend gets changed, and it makes much more sense by looking into these trends right there. So That's all what we have for this specific lecture. Continue working on it, and we'll meet in the next lecture working on the later part of the report. Thank you.